more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the kind of...
Williams, the D-Mark. Bucks, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of NBA basketball, we start with sad news today on Media Day, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the great Dikembe Mutombo, gone, brain cancer at 58. I'll tell you, I didn't even know he was ailing. And boy, when you think of Dikembe Mutombo, both on and off the court, what an ambassador for the NBA.
The original number 5'5", Mr. Defense, Grant. He has one of the best quotes I've ever heard of all time that says, when you take the elevator all the way up, make sure you send it back down.
Yeah. The waggle of the finger, he was, so King's Media Day, and, it's a necessary evil to have Media Day. It's just a bunch of nonsense. And then tomorrow you'll get on the court. And I'll tell you the one thing about the Kings, and we'll get to the NFL in a moment, but they're in a position right now. They cannot afford any more injuries in this training camp session because they are already behind the 8 ball with injuries.
Yeah, Mike Brown's going to have to get creative, Grant, especially at that forward position. You hope that nothing more happens out of camp, as you said, but you got to get the guys ready. You got to go full tilt. Yep. So something to keep an eye on.
All right, 2 NFL games tonight, the best being the Lions and the Seahawks. We talk about yesterday for a moment, and I still do not understand the criticism that comes the way of Brock Purdy. I don't think there was any criticism yesterday. But, it just seems like whenever the 49ers don't win, like most teams and most quarterbacks, that's where the blame goes. But this guy's really, really good. Having Deebo Samuel and George Kittle back on the field, I think the 49ers have withstood this early storm without Christian McCaffrey, and it looks like they're going to be okay.
Yeah, you right the ship at 2-2. The running game, Grant, you've got Jordan or JP, whatever he wants to go by, Mason. He's averaging 5.2 yards a carry, Grant. Insane with the inconsistency with the offensive line and some of these balls that Purdy's throwing in there, Grant, the one to Kittle in the corner of the end zone, that's top level stuff.
And how good is Fred Warner at linebacker? I mean, the guy is just unfreaking believable.
Unreal to make that play, get up and take it to the house the way he did. Very special, but we pay attention, Grant, to that ankle. They cannot afford to lose another guy on that defense.
No, they cannot. I have not heard the results of the MRI today. I was looking at it earlier, but I would just say that he's a special player. I mean, he really is special. I mean, he's just what he does for that football team on defense. You're exactly right. I mean, they cannot afford to lose him.
I would argue he is the emotional leader of that football team. He rallies them, gets that defense together, and when tempo is low, when energy is low, he's the guy that everybody turns to.
All right, the Raiders win. It was an ugly game. The Browns are terrible. I thought they got screwed on a holding call, which negated a 80-plus yard touchdown in the fourth quarter. But the Browns are awful. What a disorganized franchise. And the Raiders, I give them credit. They didn't have Devontae Adams. They didn't have Max Crosby, and they still have found a way to win a game that a week ago they had gotten blown out against Carolina. I don't see a lot of wins in the season for the Raiders, but I got to give them credit. At least they won the game without 2 key players.
Sure, hurts their draft chances, but good for the fans nonetheless. And Deshaun Watson, what a situation Cleveland has on their hands with him. And his comments last week, Grant, about I'm not a running back. You're going to do whatever you're going to do to get the team better. They need to find something. Kevin Stefanski, start searching, my friend.
All right. Again, folks, if you want to get in on the program today, you can do so. You've got the QR code, you've got a link, and you can give us a call, and we would be happy to talk to you. I think you got a real problem going on. Well, the football scene in New York is terrible with how bad the Giants are. But the Jets were a mess yesterday, losing to Bo Nix and the Broncos. The Jets did not score a touchdown, And I think you just have a Robert Saleh, who's one of these guys that's going to go down as a really, really good football coach, but as a coordinator and not as a head coach. He looks lost as a head coach to me.
You hit the nail on the head. He doesn't seem like a leader of guy, an executive that kind of brings all the parts together. He just kind of has like his hair on fire. I know he doesn't have hair, but Grant, anytime a team is -7 yards passing in the first half, and you can't get that done with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, and those 2 sacks in the fourth quarter, Grant, under Aaron Rodgers, can't happen on fourth down.
And baseball playoffs start this week. And by the way, thank goodness, I don't know if you saw this, but beginning next year, the MLB All-Stars will wear their home and road uniforms, their primary uniforms, instead of this garbage circus act that we saw this past All-Star game and in previous years. So I'm very happy about that.
I can't disagree with that. Rob Manfred giving up a few dollars on that one with the marketing, but all good. Take it old school.
You know what? He listened to everyone complaining, because everyone was complaining about it. It's a circus now. You know, let's first of all, when you turn on a baseball game and it's the All-Star game, the only way you can identify the players on the field is by the uniforms they're wearing.
Great point. Excellent point. Yes.
So if you're there to tune into your favorite player, you don't even know if the damn guy's on the field or not.
Yeah, no,
now you will.
Absolutely. Give them an all-star hat. Let them wear their uniforms. All good to go.
All right, let's get back to the NFL. I got to give a lot of credit to a couple of teams that I thought were going to be very bad this year. One is Minnesota. They're 4-0, and the other is Washington. I think what those two franchises are doing is incredible. And really, you can start at the quarterback position. And I know Minnesota's got a very good defense, but I've been really blown away by what I've seen from Sam Darnold. And then Jaden Daniels for Washington is going to be the next big star of this league.
Yeah, let's start with Minnesota. Sam Darnold, he's found his home. He's been in 2 bad positions. He gets that stop in San Francisco, and he reunites with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell worked with Sam when Sam was in high school, and Kevin O'Connell was at SDSU in camps. And the two have just come together. Great relationship. Sam gives what the defense gives it, or takes what the defense gives them. And Grant, they're playing great football, smart football, fun to watch.
Yeah, very much so. Those are two of the surprise teams. And then, I was not impressed with Cincinnati yesterday. They won against a bad Carolina team, but there's something missing from that team right now. And I had them going really far this year in the playoffs, but I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's just a beat off. It seems like at crucial times they make a mistake. It was good to see Joe Burrow get a little bit back into the fold. I do have to say, Daniels. Did you see some of the stats that are out on him, Grant?
Yes.
Insane.
Yep.
Washington, Grant, 23 scoring drives, only 19 incompletions this year. Think about that for a second.
Pretty amazing. So we've got all these things we're talking about: quarterbacks, baseball. By the way, Buster Posey is taking over the president of baseball operations for the Giants. So, that's something else we can talk about. But you had the A's playing their last game ever with Oakland across their uniform yesterday. There's just a lot going on. We had the story on Friday when I was doing the show, and you jumped on with me about the big trade with the Knicks and the Timberwolves. I mean, there's just a lot going on in the world of sports.
Yeah, so hit us up. We want to talk to you. One of the things we were discussing basketball-wise, did the West get better with that trade between Minnesota and New York? So get up in here.
I think they did. I think if Julius Randle is healthy, and I love what Dante DiVincenzo brings, I think Minnesota got better. I really do. I was impressed with how well they played last year when Karl Anthony Towns was hurt.
Grant, they're gearing towards what the West is right now. You look at Dallas and what they did with their 2 bigs. This balances the floor for Minnesota. Cat did not work in that series against the Dallas Mavericks. I think it is going to be a problem. The Kings are going to have to figure out that matchup, certainly.
Someone says, who are your top 3 quarterbacks after this week? Well, first of all, 1 week doesn't determine who my top 3 quarterbacks are. That doesn't, I don't judge who my top 3 quarterbacks are based on 1 game. So first and foremost, it's Patrick Mahomes number 1. And then after that, you can go in a lot of different ways. But if you don't have Mahomes at number 1, we don't even need to have the conversation.
Yeah. Who do you go number 2 behind Mahomes?
Based on just this year, I don't laugh at me. I'm probably going to go Sam Darnold.
Interesting. Okay.
Based on just not based on last year, based on 4 games that I've watched this year.
Fair enough. I'm going to go CJ Stroud. And I think CJ Stroud gives you a little bit more outside the pocket than Sam Darnold. And I like how he's leading that young team. But Sam Darnold's hard to argue with as well.
Yeah. All right. Again, if you want to get in on the program, we would love to do it. Again, we'll be having a lot of Kings news. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll always know when we've got content coming your way. We're going to be doing a lot of shows around basketball. And don't forget a rant with Grant. I need some rant ideas. So hit me up today, a rant with Grant. All right. Give me a rant with Grant, and we will do it before we get off for the 2 games on Monday Night Football. I told you this. And I said this before week 1 that, if the Jets get off to a blasé start, the media scrutiny, it's already starting in New York. I was on the tabloids today. I was reading the New York Post, and it's already starting. Mike Francesa came out and ripped Robert Saleh to shreds. It was an embarrassing commentary in terms of Saleh being a head coach. You already have Aaron Rodgers basically showing up as coach at the post-game press conference yesterday. Saleh today backtracked on his comments.
Yeah, that press conference was very confusing from a head coach. And I liked how Aaron Rodgers stepped up, talked about things he did. The weather, I don't put too much into it. You play in New York.
I don't either.
It's a little bit of rain.
Not only that, both teams were playing on the same field in the same weather.
Bingo. Exactly right. Exactly.
And Aaron Rodgers is right. You should not lose a game when your defense holds the opponent to 10 points.
Hard to imagine the Jets coming off of the week that they had before that lose that game that way. We bring in Matt to kick it off today. Welcome in, Matt. You there, Matt? No, Matt. All right, Matt. Check your speaker setting.
We can get Matt on when he does it again. All right, we'll see. But what do you think of your Seahawks tonight? They're not going 17-0. I think this is the tough spot for them.
It is a tough game, but there's something about Monday nights in Seattle that other teams don't like. In fact, Seattle's 22-7 on Monday nights. It all depends on the passing game to me, Grant. If Brian Branch, who is supposed to be out for the Lions, their safety, that may make a difference. Geno Smith is great about giving what the defense takes him, but you're going to need more than DK Metcalf. You're going to need more than Tyler Lockett. You're going to have Jackson Smith and Jigba step up, but it's going to be a close game. And I can promise you this, at some point tonight, Grant, there will be a weird score, like 7-5, 8-6. Happens every time on Monday night with the Seahawks.
And somebody said, whose fault is that, Aaron? Aaron took responsibility. He said, I got to play better. Yeah. He was, but I tell you, the offensive line was terrible in that game yesterday.
Really, really bad. And a couple times he got dinged up. You were worrying if he was going to make it through that.
All right, breaking news. Pete Rose has just died at the age of 83.
Wow.
Yep. What a 24 hours. Dikembe Mutombo, Pete Rose. And, of course, Pete dies without ever being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, which will always be a controversy and always a great debate. But for those of you that were not alive or not born yet, or not old enough to remember or never watched Pete Rose play, Pete never cheated you out of your baseball ticket that you had paid for or that you had watched on TV. If you invested your time, enjoyment, entertainment dollar to go watch Pete Rose play, he never dogged it on a ground ball, never played the game any less than 100% every single time he was on the field. That's what I will always remember about Pete Rose. Charlie Hustle, the guy never, ever played the game less than 100%. Never.
Amen. Did you have the pleasure of watching Pete play in person?
Yeah, I watched Pete play in person several times. Yeah.
Very cool. Yep. Where do you stand on the Hall of Fame debate with him?
Well, it's a great question. On every clubhouse in Major League Baseball, there is a big sign on the door that tells you about the punishment for gambling on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Every time you walk into a major league clubhouse, it's right there. Okay? So you can't say you didn't know. The integrity of the game is the most important thing. Now, you can debate where we are right now in 2024 with the integrity of the game,
right?
With sports books being major sponsors, and we can go on and on, okay? The gambling aspect. But we're also in a different era than when Pete played and Pete managed in Major League Baseball. I have no problem with Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame, and I'm going to tell you why. Pete continually lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied and lied about his betting on baseball until later in life came out and admitted it. Had Pete owned up to it and been a man and admitted what everyone knew and what the commissioner's office knew, Pete Rose would be in the Hall of Fame. But to me, there was only one thing worse than messing with the integrity of the game from betting, even though he didn't bet against the Reds to lose or anything like that. The lying part to me was as bad, if not worse, than what he was doing. And for that reason, I'm okay that he's not in the Hall of Fame. Because if you put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, you're acknowledging that it's okay to bet on baseball and it's also okay to lie for decades about betting on baseball.
You know, I wonder about him coming clean and eventually saying I bet on baseball had to do with the times changing socially. I'm wondering if that would have ever come out had betting not become more mainstream. It's an interesting point, though. I don't disagree with you.
He holds the major league record for games played at 3,562. He had over 14,000 at bats. He had over 4,200 hits and over 3,200 singles. You think of Pete Rose, always a head first slide in the second base. Always. You never saw Pete, as Phil Mushnick of the New York Post said, stretching a double into a single because he's always harping on guys not running hard out of the box.
Yeah.
Pete Rose always ran hard out of the box, whether it was a ground ball back to the pitcher, a pop fly, it didn't matter. Pete was running as hard as he could.
I remember the 1970 All-Star game. Speaking of that, running hard and the incident with Ray Fosse. That was an entire scandal of its own. Life. Yes, that changed his career. Absolutely.
Sure did. ESPN College Game Day is coming to Cal Berkeley for the Miami game on Saturday. Speaking of college football, I don't know if we're going to see a better game all year than what we saw in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. The Georgia-Alabama game, incredible. And the crowd, wow.
Oh, my gosh.
What an atmosphere at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Could you imagine the swings? Did you see the girl that turns around shocked, like crying, and then all of a sudden a play later, you've got an 80-yard touchdown and two true freshmen, Grant, for Alabama, making the difference for them.
Yeah, Ryan Williams, 17 years old.
Incredible. 547 yards total offense, Alabama, 519 for Georgia.
I was at the Alabama game a couple of weeks ago, and the guy Daryl, who has a condo right where you can see the stadium from his balcony, he told me after the game, and he's been to every Alabama game now for over 30 years. He goes to every home game and every road game. The guy's crazy. All right, he said he knows more about Alabama football than anyone.
Yeah.
After the game, he told me, because you watch, Ryan Williams is going to be the next Jerry Rice of the National Football League. Wow. He's going to be better. He said he's going to be better than any receiver we have had at Alabama. And if you look at the receivers that have come out of Alabama that have gone on to be big stars in the NFL, it is a list, let me tell you. Yep. And he said, I'm just telling you right now, this guy's going to go down as the greatest receiver in the history of Alabama football. And I'm like, dude, he's 17. You've only watched him play one game. He goes, I'm just telling you, he's going to go down as the greatest receiver in the history of Alabama football. And you know what? Through 4 games, he looks like he has a very good chance.
That play, the last play that we're talking about, the touchdown, he stopped on a dime, Grant. That move on the sideline, Reggie Bush-esque. It was incredible. Matt says he's got his audio issue fixed. Welcome in, Matt.
Hey, Grant. Hey, Ryan. Can you hear me now?
We got you.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for taking my call. Just wanted to get off my take on the trade. And what I think is that I think Minnesota won just because Dante DiVincenzo has shown to be so clutch in last year's playoffs. And also, he had a really solid run with Milwaukee. And I think that, that with Randall and with Towns, their health is just a little bit up in the air. And they're good. They're really good regular season players, but they've shown to not be the best playoff players. What do you think about that?
To DiVincenzo, I think the fit is everything for him. So I got to see a sample size with him with the Timberwolves because it didn't particularly work out well here in Sacramento. But if the fit's right, absolutely. As for Towns, yes, he has been out a number of games at times. You saw it last year with the knee surgery late in the season. And the other stuff, the moping, the little things like that, he's in a different world, I should say, Grant, heading to New York in that media system.
It's a lot of pressure, and you got to be able to handle it. And that's the other aspect. Some athletes can't handle playing in New York, and you never know until it happens. I know I lived there. I grew up there. I am very familiar with athletes that have been run out of town. It has not worked. You've got to be able to handle all of that very well.
That's a good point, but at least we know he can handle Tibbs, right?
Handle what?
Handle
Tibbs.
Tom Thibodeau.
They actually had some run-ins, and then they patched it up afterwards. It was not always pleasant, but that has been fixed, so to speak.
Okay, good to know. Hey, and Ryan, remember I called earlier in the summer about the bodybuilding. I just wanted to talk a little bit with Grant about that. Like, Grant, what do you know any of those old school? I mean, obviously there's Arnold Schwarzenegger, but do you know any of those old school guys like Lee Haney, or what's your knowledge on the sport of bodybuilding?
You're talking to me? None. I have no knowledge on the sport of bodybuilding. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than, you got to be very dedicated.
Yeah. Well, the Mr. Olympia, that's the premiere show, is coming up in less than 2 weeks. I was just wondering if I could quickly get my takes off on my predictions.
You know what? If you don't mind, not really, and I'm going to tell you why. And I don't want this to sound rude. Nobody really cares, and it's and I don't mean that in a very condescending way. I know people do care, but it's a football Monday. We've got a lot going on with Kings Media Day. We don't have a lot of time, so if you wouldn't mind calling back on maybe a slower day, I'll give you the time. But today's just not a great day for it.
Totally understand. Hey, have a great day, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Pete Rose just died. We got Kembe Mutombo. Thank you, Matt. And I don't mean it in a, but no one really cares today.
Yeah, it's a notable day. I'm just glad to hear you don't own one of those bodybuilding Speedos, Napes.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're concerned for that. Yeah.
We roll to our guy in New York, Long Island, actually. Patrick, welcome in.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, what's going on? I just want to make 2 points. One, I really didn't want Karl Anthony Towns coming at first, but now since we made the trade, I think it'll probably be a good trade in the long run because we'll have Cat on the contract for at least the next 3 years, whereas Randall, he could have walked after this year. We weren't too sure what he was going to do. We didn't know if he was going to take an extension or not. So,
yeah, in
that sense, I think it was a good trade to get Cat. The only thing that bothered me about getting him was that, like, at the end of his contract, he's making about $60 million a year. But then, now that I think about it, like about 2 or 3 years from now, I think a lot of players are going to be making $60 million a year. So maybe it doesn't really matter,
Yeah, I don't. The money to me is, if the Knicks win a championship, no one's going to give a damn what anyone's getting paid.
Yeah, and Patrick, you've got him under contract through 27-28, and if he plays well, think about how that extends the Knicks window.
Oh, sure, definitely. I mean, now that I'm thinking that, and I was just worried about it counting against the cap and going over the second apron, that whole stuff. But like you said, if they win a championship, nobody's going to care about that stuff.
Amen.
I still don't think they're the best team in the East, but I think that they've got a legitimate chance now. I would say that.
Oh, for sure. One other point I wanted to make quick was about Pete Rose. First of all, I think he was a terrific ball player, and I generally agree with you both. I don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because of the gambling. But I was at the Baseball Hall of Fame back in like 1991. I went to visit.
Yep.
And back then, the Pete Rose controversy was really hot. And what I noticed was when I walked into the Baseball Hall of Fame, when you go in, there was a huge display of Pete Rose talking about how he broke the hit record when you walk into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, it wasn't in the Hall of Fame, but still, just to have that display there, I thought was sort of like contradictory, that they would still acknowledge Pete Rose when you walk in the door, even though he's not in that room with the Hall of Fame. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can see your point. That makes a lot of sense. I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like banning Roger Clemens from the Hall of Fame, but meanwhile having big displays for him when you walk in the door. I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
all one way or the other.
It's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah,
Very good point.
Enjoy listening to your show, guys, as always. Thanks again. Appreciate
Thank you,
Thanks,
buddy.
Patrick. Be well. Love hearing
good
from
point.
Patrick. Yeah, it's a good point. Absolutely. You wonder if that's a little bit of an olive branch to Pete Rose. But it brings up the whole thing, and we don't need to get all into it, but the steroids era, how's that going to be handled? We've already seen the front end of it, Grant. Not well.
Yeah, and I think it's not trending in a positive direction if you're looking for those guys to get into the Hall of Fame.
Nope. It's going to have to be through the backdoor Veterans Committee. It's really looking that way.
Well, I really appreciate the call. We're getting a lot of good feedback today on everything going on. I mean, it's a sad day with Dikembe Mutombo yesterday. Pete Rose lived a full life. So, I mean, is it sad when someone dies? Yes, you remember their life and everything. But Dikembe, I mean, he was really in the prime of his life still and, dying of brain cancer and just awful. But, I mean, I called many games involving Dikembe Mutombo, and you always knew that if you were going against Dikembe, you better know where you are when you're driving a ball down the lane. All right. Don't challenge him because he's going to put a logo on your head.
From the basketball?
Yes. Balding right on your forehead.
Oh, my gosh. That's too good. Grant, as much as he did on the court, he did as much off the court for the Republic of Congo and basketball in general. Incredible.
Yeah, he was a beloved figure in the NBA. All right, 2 games tonight. Don't forget about that. Also, a rant with Grant, if you've got something for me. If not, I will do it myself. But give me some ideas for a rant with Grant. So happy to have you here as we get you ready for a pair of Monday night games. Hope you had a chance to get to Bennett's over the weekend for their brunch in the 3 locations, Sacramento, Roseville, the West Side Grill in Rockland. Prime Seafood and Steak, their happy hours every day, 2 to 6. Just go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com, then make a reservation or more. You'll love it. Prime Seafood and Steak at Bennett's. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. And remember, if you have any issues when it comes to plumbing, SackServicePlumbing.com will get you to New Works Plumbing, and they're great service. They are available around the clock 24/7. All your plumbing concerns and repairs, SackServicePlumbing.com, or call that number on your screen. That's New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. Pair of games, Monday Night Football. One game is great and on paper, and the other one looks horrible with Tennessee and Miami.
Yeah, not really sure what to expect from that one. Coin flip. Which way are you going there, Napes?
I'm going with the Titans, and I'm going with the Lions. Sorry, buddy.
That's all right. I understand. I've got the Dolphins tonight and the Seahawks, and I'm 12-2 this week in the Pins League against the spread, my friend.
I think I'm 2-12. So I think I'm 2-12, or so. I really don't know. I don't even remember my picks, but I know they're not very good. Good for you, buddy. That gets that moves you up the ladder a little bit.
It does. I got to catch Blue Chaos in the standings. But hey, speaking of the hot hand, we go back to the phones. Welcome in, Baki. You're on with Grant and Ryan.
Hey, Baki.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. Rhino, I told you Texans. That was my pick for this week.
Yep.
So they made it. It was hard, but they made it. But tonight is the game of the games. If you ask me for NFL, I'm gonna watch it. So your guys tonight are all about NBA, or you're doing all the stuff?
We're doing
You're
everything
speaking
tonight
about,
because everything, it's
yeah,
an open
tonight. So
forum, and we got
okay.
baseball playoffs, we got Pete Rose, we've got NBA, we've got NFL. So go ahead. I'm not really into like bodybuilding, but go ahead.
Okay, I heard bad news. I mean, it's unbelievable all the Dikembe Mutombo did for the NBA. It's amazing. So rest in peace, Dikembe. And another thing I would like to ask you to did you ever have a chance to work? And what do you think about the guy from the ESPN? Uh, I mean, I didn't know he's commentating on the ESPN NFL games, but now I know
What guy?
Chris Fowler. Did you ever
Oh,
work with Chris
I've never
Fowler? Do
worked.
you know?
I've never
Okay,
worked with Chris.
I mean, did you meet the guy sometimes? What do you think about him?
Never met him. I think he's a great host. I think he does a tremendous job in tennis. His football calls are good, but I'm not a fan of his. I'm not a fan of his football play-by-play in particular, and it has more to do with the inflection of his voice, which is good. But he did a great job on Saturday. I mean, he's been getting complimented a lot for his game that he called. But when I think of Chris Fowler, I don't think of a football announcer. I think of a studio host, and I think he does a great job when he does tennis. But go ahead.
Yeah, nothing to add because I really I admire what he is doing as a tennis host. A lot with a lot of other people from the tennis. Okay, a lot of them are really, uh, I would say, disgrace from the ESPN. That's my point. But a lot of them are just great. People from tennis in the ESPN are really amazing. Maybe one or two are out of that story, but people like Fowler, like Robbie, like uh, great champion, uh, great champion from the
Well, John
women
McEnroe, Patrick McEnroe,
yeah,
Chrissy
Jack
Evert.
Mac. I mean, brothers are.
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah. Chrissy
cannot
Evert does a
imagine
lot of
a
the.
Grand
Chrissy
Slam.
Evert does the women's tennis with. I mean, there are a lot. They have a pretty good lineup for tennis.
I mean, not. It's not about tennis. I mean, like sport commentators and hosts, as you already said. As I see you, one of them who is very experienced and great knowledge. I mean, great guys. I always can't wait some Grand Slam or other event to start because of them, only because of them, not only for the sport or watching tennis, but to listen to the guys like I would like to hear you from the radio, from the NBA again, if it's possible. I don't know, but it's crazy stuff. I mean, commentating the sport is something very special.
Well,
If
I
you
have a lot of respect for those that can do more than one sport and do more than one sport well. I personally always took pride in being able to announce a variety of sports, and I took a lot of onus on myself to hone my craft. That regardless of what I was asked to call, I was ready to go. Kenny Albert is a great example. He does all four sports in America now. You know, he does hockey, basketball, baseball, and football. And I have great respect for someone that does that. I've never done baseball. I did football for a long time. I did hockey, obviously basketball. I never did announce baseball. And to be honest with you, it wouldn't have been my best sport because I'm a very type A personality and I'm a fast talker. And I have baseball is more of a storytelling sport, and it wouldn't be my forte. Do I think I could do it? Yeah, I think I could do it, but I don't think it would be my best sport.
um, what do you think? Did Marv Albert ever did some other sport
Yeah,
out
Marv
of
Albert
out
did
of
every
NBA?
sport. He did a baseball,
Yeah,
did football, basketball,
yeah.
and hockey. But primarily, he was basketball, hockey, and football, and then he did some baseball. But yeah, absolutely. Marv could announce two dogs walking across the street.
Definitely. I'm very happy that I lived in the not only the era of some great sportsmen, but on the era of great sport announcers and hosts.
Yeah, and
It's
a
crazy.
lot of these guys do Olympics. And here's the key when you do Olympics. I talked to Mike Breen about this. Mike, one year when the Olympics were at Salt Lake City, Mike was doing the ski jumping. He'd never done
Cool.
ski jumping before. And we had a long conversation about that. And he said, well, the key when you do that is to just completely rely on your expert analyst and let them basically do everything. And you just get people in and out and you announce who's up next and, what their distance is. But then you shut up and you let the expert tell you what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and there's enough time to lay out there, too, to give the analysts some room.
Exactly.
Rhino, what about Hawks tonight?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hell of a test. They've had a soft schedule up until this point. There's something special about the Hawks at Lumen Field on Monday nights. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going Hawks, but you're in for a good one, Bucky.
If Lions gonna win that game, what do you think? Is gonna be tight game or they're gonna crush them?
No, it'll be tight.
Crush them.
So you both things that.
Yep, it's going to be an ugly game. That's how Seattle wants to play. They want to play ugly.
Thank you, Baki.
The last thing.
Yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Last thing. Go ahead.
Okay. The first time I saw Rhino with the Seahawks is the previous show. I didn't know it when Adam asked me maybe 2 weeks ago what's my NFL team, and when I said it's Seattle Seahawks, I didn't know you are behind the Seahawks. So after I saw the show again tomorrow, and when I saw your shirt, I remembered and I said, gosh, this is unbelievable. He's cheering the same team as I do. So this is absolutely crazy for me. So we are on the same side. I really love them, and they have a rookie coach, and I like them a lot this year.
Yep.
Thank you,
Mike
buddy.
Montgomery's done a great job. Thanks, Bucky.
Appreciate it. All right. Don't forget a rant with Grant. I've got a rant idea for you right now. And this is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. Long overdue new concept, no obligation to any franchise or big corporation. Just two people, David and Adam, trying to do something different and better. They offer new vehicle brokerage, also offer vehicle consignments where they sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car. They sell pre-owned vehicles, even your RV or boat. And here's something that's great. You take delivery at their auto lounge in El Dorado Hills without ever going into a dealership. You don't have to talk to a salesperson, get pressured by the manager, and get squeezed in the F&L office. It's a great concept. EDH Motors, folks. All right. Automotive Reimagined. And just go to info@edhmotors.com. That's info@edhmotors.com. Put the website up there for you, and you can get in contact with Peter or Adam. Again, info@edhmotors.com. David and Adam. Did I say Peter? If I did, I got that wrong. David and Adam at EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. It's really a great concept. I think that you will enjoy what you find there with both David and Adam. All right. I talked about this on Friday. I am a huge fan of Al Michaels. The guy is great. But every Thursday, it's something different. He messed up the Tua concussion, didn't even talk about his prior history, talked about how he had 3 extra days, as if he was like unaware of his previous concussion history. Every Thursday he gets on this tangent about something. This past Thursday, it was about the penalties. He just went on and on and on and on and on and on and on about the penalties. Then when there was a penalty in the third quarter, he referenced how it had been a couple of minutes before they'd had a penalty. Enough already. Just announce the freaking game. The official's job is to call penalties. Are there some games where there's a lot and some games where there aren't as many? Yes. But you know what? Don't make it the number one story of the game. It was absurd on Thursday. That's all he talked about. It gets a little ridiculous. And again, I have Al on the Mount Rushmore of sportscasters, but stop it. All right. You're getting away from what made you great. Again, the Tua story was bad as it was when they were playing Buffalo, and he was like completely ignoring his previous concussion history. It's bad luck for Al. I know he's 79. He's great upon great on great. But stop it already. Stop it. It's like ruining the broadcast, all right? And that is my quick rant for today.
He finds one thing every week. You're spot on, my friend. Good job.
Unbelievable. And again, David and Adam at EDH Motors. All right. I don't know why I said Peter. David and Adam. I actually had a great lunch with Adam a couple of weeks ago when I was in Sacramento and learned so much about their concept. And it's neat. I never thought of it before, but think about how many times maybe you haven't had a pleasant car buying experience at a dealership. Well, they take that right out the window. They make it enjoyable. It's like, I'm like, wow, what a nice concept.
Think about how many people lowball you when you sell your car, whether you do it privately or a dealership, to have that middleman to handle that for you, one spot. I absolutely love it. Thanks for cleaning that up, Chris. It is in Detroit tonight. I misspoke, but the Seattle went into Detroit last year and won, so confident.
I thought the game was in Detroit, and then when you said that, I go, well, you'll know because you're a Seahawk. I'm like, I think the game's in Detroit, and then I was listening to it, and I'm like, I must be losing my freaking mind. Nope. That's what I'm literally listening to, and I'm going, God, Grant, you're getting old. You really don't even know where the hell. I really did. I was like hitting myself on the head.
Nope, I misspoke. You should have called me out. Yep.
No, but you know what? I didn't call you out because I wasn't positive.
Okay, fair enough. Dan Campbell, though, 0-3 against Seahawks. So I'll give you that, Chris.
And the Seahawks are one of these teams, and maybe it's false now, but because under Pete Carroll, they always played well on the road. They were always a good road team, particularly 10 a.m. games on Sunday. They were always really good.
Which was crazy. It worked out well for him. Pete had him ready all the time. So we'll see if that translates with Coach.
But you still think Seattle wins?
Yes, I absolutely do. Seattle goes into Detroit. They're used to a loud, raucous place.
Yeah, they are.
Can handle it.
Yeah, they are. It should be a good game. I'm very much looking forward to it. And then tomorrow, day one of Kings practice, buddy.
Yeah, can't wait to get all over that. We'll have some updates for you. Tomorrow, we'll be doing shows here on If You Don't Like That. So make sure that you are subscribed. Get the notifications. Season's right around the corner, Grant.
Yes, and make sure you get to Sunrise Landing from Blazona Development, and you can find out everything that you need to know by going to CalusaSunrise.com. Again, Sunrise Landing from Blazona Development. Multiple models to choose from. No Melrose, no homeowners. It's across the street from the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Great access to the major arteries such as I-5. You'll love it. It's CalusaSunrise.com, Sunrise Landing, to get you all the information you need. Once again, that is CalusaSunrise.com and Sunrise Landing. Well, buddy, we talked a little bit about everything. We even talked about bodybuilding in this show. Can you believe that?
I know. I thought that was going to be a rant with Grant right there. In fact, really quick, let's give John the last word.
What's up,
He's been waiting. What's up, John?
Guys, how are you? Happy Monday, even though it's, somewhat of a sad Monday. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Dikembe, man, that's pretty sad to hear. And then hearing Pete Rose later at the end of the day. Holy smokes, you guys.
Crazy.
Yep.
Not a lot to say.
Nope.
And Grant and Brian, my father passed away nearly a couple years ago at 83 years old. So all I could say is that was, I guess, a nice, long, full life. And Pete lived a nice, long, full one. He had a ton of fun, and some things he did wrong, some things he did right. But like we said, man, on the baseball field, that guy took second every time he could try it. He never gave up on any play, and everything else he did, betting that shit was wrong. And now it seems so customary. It just seems the times are just changing. Times are changing, guys. And hey, this is why we play them, man. This is why we love sports. And we're say that again, Grant.
No, you're right. Times are changing. I mean, it's the game's played totally different than it used to be when Pete Rose played.
Yeah, no question about it, man. No question about it. And we didn't get much into college football, and I guess there's been a lot of different things going media day, but I tuned into that Georgia game in Alabama. Man, that was something to watch. And I also, Grant, watched Colorado Buffaloes, and listen, I don't watch because of Dion, all right? I watch because of Travis Hunter. And that guy is a specimen. He does, man, the thing he does offensively and defensively, they're both just equally good. He's like Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Diggs, all in one. Amazing. It's weird. He's fun to watch, man. He's fun to watch.
John, think about this. If an NFL coach does allow him to go both ways. It's more huddling up in the NFL. It's not as much at the line, go offense. So he's going to have time to rest in between reps.
Hey, you're 100% right about that. And look, I noticed a few times where he wasn't on there defensively on first down. He didn't get on there until second or perhaps third. And hey, after second down, there might be another first down. So it's not like he played every single snap, but he played the vast majority of the snaps. And for him to do what he does, hey, to be in the pros and do that, that's going to be something. That'll be something else. And to have a coach that wants to play him that much, man, that might not happen. But it's going to be hard not to play him a little bit. You know, it's almost like, look at what Shohei Ohtani has done, and he hasn't pitched this year. But man, if you need someone in a pinch, look, he's going to be able to come in and do it. So it's fun. It's fun to watch, seeing a guy that just gives, balls out all the time. And that's, he's got a quick first step and a quick last step. And hey, I love that. Never give up. And Grant, I know you're about that too. So I know you got to respect him as well as I do.
No question, John. Always good hearing from you, buddy. We're going to wrap this up so we can get ready for the games, but I appreciate you joining us.
All right. Hey, I wanted to make sure Ryan, I got asparagus going on, a couple pork loins over here, so I'm not letting you down, buddy.
I love it.
John, I feel bad for your wife. All that asparagus, my friend. You enjoy. Grill it up, buddy.
You take care. That's good stuff.
That is Miami.
He's great, man.
Good. Pretty damn good. Miami driving. They are at Tennessee's 32 right now. Yep. So looking forward to a doubleheader. Grant?
And I'm looking forward to tomorrow at 3:00 right here on If You Don't Like That. I will be speaking with Sean Salisbury, and we'll go over everything from tonight and this past weekend. That is tomorrow. Wednesday at 3:00, right? Today's Monday. Wednesday at 3:00. I always like to give a reminder. Wednesday at 3:00 tomorrow. I'll be here at 8:00. If you join me, it would be great, but I'm going to do a show tomorrow at 8:00.
For sure. I will be here at 8:00 with you, and then 2:00 King's Court, Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Get in here. We'll talk about media day, training camp, and so much more. So hope you can join us. And the Kings will have
2 practices under their belt by tomorrow night when we go on, so that we can talk some Kings basketball too.
Can't wait.
Great. Everyone else, enjoy the games. First game already going on. Then Detroit hosting Seattle in the nightcap in a little bit. Regular kickoff time coming up here in about 30 minutes. Enjoy, everyone. Tomorrow, right here on If You Don't Like That. Bye-bye now.